I want to get this out of the way so you can watch the movie without, getting anything resembling a spoiler. So here's the pitch. Moana is the best Disney movie since The Lion King. Yes, it's better than Frozen. It's better than Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6 and Zootopia. It's even better than Lilo and Stitch, Mulan, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's objectively, unequivocally, even effortlessly the best thing that Disney has made in decades, and it will and should be considered a new all-time classic for Disney as the years go by. Moana is a masterpiece, not because it's somehow perfect or perfectly polished, but because it's exactly right. It's the right timing, the right environments, the right characters, the right story, the right everything we've been wanting to see from Disney years after they basically stopped taking massive creative risks in favor of medium and small-sized ones. But okay, let's actually talk about the movie. And, I can't stress enough that you're honestly better off going in to see this one blind, especially if you already love the majority of the films I just talked about. And for the rest of you, here we go. The Disney musical was once an all-powerful mandate for animated children's films. Hand-drawn characters, they have to sing. Upbeat protagonists, they're going to sing their way to the finish line. This has been prevalent since Snow White came out in the 30s. This was Disney's first real movie, and it's been more or less a ticket sales printer for live action movies too. I mean, probably up until the Newsies or even well before that with Pete's Dragon. In fact, it wasn't until Pixar came along with Toy Story that Hollywood decision makers started to feel comfortable with animated movies that don't also feature sing-along discs. Pixar's Ed Catmull and John Lasseter, who were part of Moana by the way, were adamant about making sure Toy Story was not a musical, and they've stuck by that North Star many movies later. All the while, Disney has progressively moved farther away from the musical game, dropping it entirely throughout the early and mid-2000s, only to be revitalized in part by Enchanted, Princess and the Frog, Tangled. Well, then Frozen happened, justifying to Disney in a big way that people still want musicals, just not for every single movie that comes out, animated or otherwise. Moana then feels like a fully realized musical, written from start to finish to accommodate a true working of the genre, because it's probably the first movie Disney's made in years that fully embraces catchy song numbers that are woven into the DNA of the movie's story and visuals. So what's it about? Moana is the future chieftain of her island, an isolated paradise where the villagers are forbidden from leaving the reef due to dangerous storms that make the sea much more treacherous than it used to be. But of course, Moana yearns to be a voyager like her ancestors, and she also struggles to balance that desire with the obligation that she has for her people. Ultimately, though, the threat of the storms inches closer to the village, chasing away their food, poisoning the island itself, so Moana has to embark on a journey to help Maui, a long-banished demigod, restore the heart of a goddess to her island, in the hopes that this will finally quell the lurking dangers of the ocean so people can voyage from island to island again. Now, that probably sounds like a lot of information, and may even sound too detailed for a review, but this is all just scratching at the surface of what Moana is really about, and which directions it takes. Though it's mostly a simple and straightforward story with very few characters, it contains a rich mythology that the movie's incredibly proud of, and it reminds the audience of its grand scope in every single scene, giving this new world a more interesting sense of location than almost any other Disney film I've ever seen. In addition to that, the handful of characters we do encounter are so compelling because we spend a lot of time watching them change, grow, and basically react to each set piece. Moana's obviously a highlight. She's less Disney princess and more Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon in a really good way. She's fierce and confident, but she's also flawed and aware of her shortcomings. She has real doubts about this hard journey ahead of her, and the budding friendship between her and this larger-than-life demigod Maui is constantly engaging, and it's even a little emotional at times. Speaking of Maui, there's not too much to get into with him, mostly because the trailers have already given us a fair overview of his character. He's egotistical and brash, but not in a villainous sort of way. The real surprises with him need to actually be seen to be appreciated. Over the years, we've gotten plenty of Disney films with great stories and characters, but what puts Moana so far ahead of them, at least to me, is how the movie masterfully marries the visual story and music together. We really haven't seen something like that since Lion King, despite a great story and soundtrack in Mulan, which just didn't have the revolutionary visuals. But every second of Moana is absolutely stunning, and there are a lot of groundbreaking animation achievements in this movie that I've never seen from a computer animated film, and that's made all the better by, as I said before, the right story and music to complement it. I did like the music in Frozen, at least one or two songs, but Moana doesn't have a single weak song in the bunch. This is one of those few musicals where I actually got excited as soon as a song started, simply because the movie does such a great job of using music to its advantage, shedding light on character and motivations that brief dialogue just can't really pull off. And like any great musical, the strongest songs in the mix are repeated and evolved throughout the movie, so you have a real sense of the film's musical identity by the finish. All that said, Moana is a real surprise for me. It shows a willingness on Disney's part to take what made Frozen so refreshing and welcome, and then make something completely better in every way. And while I don't know how ready the world is for a movie like this, I fully expect Moana to top the hearts of many kids growing up today, in the same way that Lion King, Aladdin, and Beauty and the Beast were major milestones for me. This is one you should not miss. Go see it.
You're welcome to fill your sails and shake your trees. So what can I say except you're welcome, for the islands I pulled from the sea. There's no need to pray, it's okay, you're welcome. Ha! I guess it's just my way of being me. You're welcome.